So, there's a lot of stuff going on if you just pay attention. And one of the things, you start paying attention to is the mysteries. Mysteries of man, mysteries of earth. And one of the big mysteries of man, of course, is the missing link. For decades, scientists have been searching in vain for fossil evidence of the missing link. And I don't think they'll ever find it because they're looking in the complete wrong place. The whole missing link thing, it's just a part of the theory of evolution. And there are a lot of problems when you examine evolution as a whole. Most of you have heard that mankind and chimpanzees, chimpanzees, our closest primate relative, share up to 98% DNA. I think it's really closer to like 96.7%. And you might not think that's a big difference, 96.7 and 98. However, when you think about it, all life is so similar. And as a matter of fact, we share 90% DNA with mice. So that's how similar life is. So if mankind and mice share 90% DNA, then another 6.7% is a huge gap from a mouse to a chimpanzee. That extra 1.3% is a wide, vast margin. Now, of course, it's very obvious. I mean, just looking at it, humans and primates, we share a lot of similarities in genetic traits. But like I said, that gulf is way too vast for it to be overcome by 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5 mutations in over 1 million years. The missing link should really be called links, plural, because no one single fossil discovery will ever satisfy the researchers here. Think about the differences, the major differences that we have, human beings, Homo sapiens, compared to other similar-sized animals on the surface of the planet. Right off the top of the bat, skin. We don't have fur. And other animals like elephants or rhinoceroses that don't have fur, the layers of skin that they have, it's dozens and dozens of layers. However, we'd be lucky to have a dozen layers of skin. It's probably less, maybe closer to 6. Of course, the skin is always regenerating and glowing. We have 3 main layers of skin, and, we might be able to subdivide that even further. However, just regular skin. And our skin is not suited for the environment on the surface of the planet. We have to protect ourselves from ultraviolet rays. When it gets cold during the winter, if it wasn't for clothes and modern conveniences such as heat, we would most likely freeze. Skin is not suited for the surface. Also, our eyes. Secondary to our brain, our intelligence, our eyes are our most primary sense, and we gather more than any other sense. Yet, when you examine our eyes with that of other species, what you will find out is that our eyes are not that good at all. If you compare our eyes to that of a bird, especially like a hawk or an eagle, you'll find their eyes are a lot better, even though their brain is much smaller. Another thing, we spend half of our lives in the dark. Granted, in modern times, we have lights, and so we can turn on the lights and we can see in the dark. But before that, when we were evolving, when our eyes were evolving supposedly on the surface of the planet, why isn't it that we can't see in the dark? If we spend half our lives there, it would only make sense that we could see a lot better in the dark than we actually do. A lot of nocturnal animals have eyes and eyesight that allow them to see better and further in the dark than we can. If we're at the top of the food chain, the pinnacle of evolution on the surface, why do these anomalies exist? Another thing, a skeleton. Of course, we walk upright, we're bipedal. Yet this defies evolutionary explanation. As we grow older, our skeleton is subjected to stresses by gravity that other four-legged species are not. And instead of being stronger, our bones are actually weaker and less dense of other animals of comparable size. Not only our skeletons, but our muscles as well. Think of a cat. Obviously, a cat is a lot smaller than us, but if you just use a ratio, a cat can easily jump, a cat's about 1 foot, can easily jump up 5 feet. Take that ratio and compare it to humans. Let's just say, on average, human 5 foot tall. That would mean that we should be able to jump 25 feet. However, we can't even get close to that. I mean, the high jump record is in the 7 foot. It's not even 8 foot. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I wish we had a statistician. But I believe it's like 7 feet, 9, 10 inches, something like that. Our muscles will not allow that. There seems to be something wrong here. If we were designed to live on the surface of the planet, we should be more like the other species around us. Also, allergies. Think about this. If we evolved alongside all the other plants around us, why do we develop allergies? You almost never hear, actually, as a matter of fact, you do. You never hear of dogs and cats having hay fever or suffering from pollen or anything like that. Any allergies an animal develops, it's due to man-made products. We have no fangs. We have no claws. We are severely limited when it comes to competing with the other animals around us. How in the world did we ever survive when we were not as smart as we are now? A lot of evolutionists speculate, well, I'll tell you how. We used to have claws, we used to have fangs, but as our brains developed and we became smarter and smarter, these abilities just, disappeared. Yet there's no known force or action in evolution, nothing that we can see that would allow for the unevolution or the de-evolution of ability that was useful. It just doesn't occur in nature. And finally, just to touch on this man mysteries, our reproductive cycle. All animals have a reproductive cycle that's basically based on a yearly annual cycle in order to time their births with the season that is most beneficial for the survival of offspring. All except humans. Our reproductive cycle is tied to a 28-day cycle, which means it either has to be tied into the moon, or we evolved on a planet that had 28 Earth day, or some type of cycle just like that. Finally, about the human mysteries, our intelligence. I've mentioned this time and time again, just in this 5-6 minutes. The span between human intelligence and other species, including, our so-called forebears, the Neanderthals and other cavemen, is so vast, it cannot be overcome in just an evolutionary link or two. It's much more vast than that. Do we really fit on the surface? If you look around, sure. I mean, there's obviously some parts of us definitely do. I mean, our internal structure is definitely similar to other life forms on the surface. We gain and garnish nourishment and sustenance from our environment. The food is, we eat the food, we can breathe the air, we drink the water. Yet, where did all the other anomalies that I talk about come from? Clearly, some part of our human DNA evolved someplace else. Someplace that had conditions that were constant or minimal temperature changes, also had low or no ultraviolet light,